Hello, welcome to a new reaction video. My name is Larissa and today I'm going to react to a documentary. The documentary is called Buck. It's from 2011 and I don't know that much about it yet. I know it's a horse documentary about someone named Buck, I think. So I looked up the IMDb page real fast to just get a small summary of what we're gonna watch. An examination of the life of acclaimed horse whisperer Buck Breanna, who recovered from years of child abuse to become a well-known expert in the interactions between horses and people. Okay, that sounds interesting. I already thought it was about someone who was like good with horses or something, but he is an acclaimed horse whisperer, so yeah, I'm curious to see what his methods are and all. But also to read that he has been a victim of child abuse, I think that really gives his personality probably a bigger layer, and I don't know if that's like something we're gonna see back in this documentary, that he talks about that or something. I don't know why else they would really like put it in here. It sounds very interesting, and before I start I want to tell you that this was a Patreon request, and if you also want to request a movie or a documentary or just a video, you can check out my Patreon. The link is in the description, and on there's different tiers where you can choose if you want me to react to something. What is also available on there is early access to all my videos and access to my uncut reactions. So if you also want to see my reaction to the full documentary, you can check it out. The link is in the description. Yeah, let's just watch it. It's funny how like the Western music and like the landscape shots always remind me of the Walking Dead Telltale.
How you doing there, buddy? Feels good, doesn't it, huh?
Oh, he's getting a bath.
Alright, well, I'm off to the office. Are there any of you that have any particular problems you'd like to tell me about? Learn me how to come settle in with you. A lot of times, rather than helping people with horse problems, I'm helping horses with people problems.
Yeah, I get what he's saying there.
You can't always be the kid's best friend. First, you have to be the parent.
It's also like a horse is just a horse, but people want him to behave in a certain way, so...
Maybe it's the kid's fault. Maybe the parent ought to be in jail.
Boy, do you feel like a fool and kind of like a failure, you know?
People bring a lot of baggage to the table when they come to these. Here for a different reason other than just getting where they can ride their horse a little bit better.
So he just like helps people and all with their horses if there's problems.
It'll make you better in areas that you didn't think related to horses. Good job, buddy.
Looking at the camera.
Horses, because of some of the things I'd been through as a kid, I found some safety.
Yeah,
and some companionship.
he does talk about it.
I want him to slow down. See, if I go like this, practice my old man walk, so when I'm really old, it might take me an hour to get over there. He ought to be able to just go with me as slow as I want to go and not crowd me. If I stop, he ought to stop. If I go back, he ought to go back.
Smart horse.
Right now, I walk at a little faster pace, but I'm always testing him to see if he's with me.
When I first seen him, I thought, what kind of voodoo stuff is this? You know, how are you 5 minutes? He's got a horse following him around like a dog.
Okay. It's interesting how people do just have such a connection with certain animals that they can just pull this shit off.
You walk up to him smelling like a Big Mac, you know, or something. Your diet is going to make you smell different to the horse. And then you're going to tell the horse, don't worry, I want to crawl on you. In a similar posture to how a lion would attack and kill a horse. They jump right up.
I mean, he's got a point.
And then you say, oh, one more thing. I want to strap some hides of other dead animals around you before I crawl on you. And amazingly enough, they'll let you do it.
Horses always look so peaceful.
Take some practice to get good at. Your horse might be afraid to move. What you mean? Flag, you aren't gonna hurt her. It'd be like you getting spanked with a sock. There. Yeah. Walk to the hip. You're at the head. That's the eating end. This is always a hard one for folks.
He's always also like putting some comedy in his lessons. He's funny.
See there where she went to run me over? I mean, she's trying to protect herself. Nobody's here to hurt you.
You always grow up hearing about breaking horses. There's a whole element of abuse, really. of it's man is stronger than this big animal. We can break them down, almost like Paris Island and a drill instructor.
Yeah.
Early exposure to horses was severe, tying horses to posts so that when the horse pulled back, they would slam back into the post. It was really brutal, really brutal. It was heartbreaking. But I remember crying a lot.
I hate
very
that.
bad. So when I met Bach, I was the instant convert.
Treat animals this way, so I treat people that way too. We all know the answer to that.
I have to say, I feel like over the years, people got way more aware of how to treat animals or something. I always feel like when I see really old footage of animals, it's always like, yeah, they don't matter and we are the stronger species, you know. So I was like, when I see people like Buck here, yeah, who does the right thing, who finds this positive or like these good ways to actually handle animals.
It just blew my mind. It just blew my mind that it could be done in a way that the horse would cooperate like the people and not be scarred up and afraid for life.
Yeah, it's really good.
I couldn't believe what that man could do with a horse without anything on it. Why let an animal live in fear? Why not fix it?
Yeah, why cause them so much stress? No reason.
Some kind of dark things in my life. Everybody has a bit of a burden to bear of some sort.
Oh, now we're gonna get to know something about his past.
Cowboy, I grew up as a trick roper. That wasn't necessarily by choice, but the first thing is we were entertainers, my brother and I. I started doing rope tricks when I was 3 years old. You wouldn't think that a 3-year-old could be doing rope tricks, but I was doing rope tricks. I turned professional when I was 6.
6.
But we really enjoyed the attention of the crowds. We were kind of childhood celebrities, you know. We were the Kellogg's Sugar Pops kids.
Here's a good hard-working breakfast.
Oh, damn.
70, 71, right?
They really were like celebrities.
Before my mom passed away. All I remember about that commercial, it should have been real fun because it was a big thrill to all the kids in school that we were on national television doing these. All I really remember about that is that my dad beat us unmercifully for not putting on a perfect performance, and then he drove us home and he stopped and knocked on us a little bit more.
What the hell?
My mom would drop us off at school and I would beg her not to leave because I was just terrified of the fact that I was going to be 5 or 6 hours alone with our dad because things always went better when she was around.
Some people should just not have kids, you know?
My life was over and I no longer had my protector. Night after night after night, he would come yank us out of the bed in the middle of the night because you'd just stare down at the table because even to just look at my dad when he was ranting and raving in drunken stupor.
Of course,
He
drunken.
would take that as an aggressive expression. I just said, I'm not going to get beat up again tonight. I made a mad dash outside. The fact that I wasn't very well dressed for being outside in the middle of the winter, because this cold is somewhere between 10 and 20 below zero. Because I knew if I went back inside, he was going to beat me half to death, and I just couldn't go back in.
Oh, this is awful.
We had a dog. It sounds real trailer park, I know, but he lived in a 55-gallon barrel. I crawled in that 55-gallon barrel with that bloodhound. It wasn't warm, but it kept me from freezing.
Yeah.
And he just looked at me like, where you been?
Heavy shit. I always wonder why certain people get children and then, like, to abuse them? Like, why? Why did you get children then? But yeah, there's, like, a lot of underlying problems. This is not just, you know, saying, like, why did you even get children? That's not just what I'm saying, but I know there's so much more to it. But yeah.
Got the clinic done here, and didn't make anybody cry.
It is so nice for me to see that he grew up to be such a gentle, caring person, and he's doing like such a good thing now while being like raised in an environment like that.
She's gonna make me a Manhattan.
Oh, that looks good.
Opened up the door and they went into the round pen, and there was 15 or 17 colts, and he roped every one of them. A mutual friend invited me, and I was pretty skeptical, and I went pretty convinced that I wasn't going to appreciate anything that I saw. Working with all these babies. And I was blown away. I mean, I couldn't believe what I saw and the rapport that he had with them.
How does someone get such a connection with horses or any kind of animal? It's insane. Like, what's the secret?
I'm proud of a lot of those prizes that I won, but I'm equally ashamed of a lot of them too. And these practices aren't used nearly as much now as they were years ago. The horses would be put into hock cobbles that would go from the hocks up through the snaffle and back down, so that every time he took a step with his hocks, you know,
It all seem like such abusive methods.
How unjust it is until someone shows you a different path.
Let's say I needed to pull on this horse about that hard. The way I took a hold of you wasn't really offensive, wouldn't make you afraid. And I took a hold of the horse like that. Now I'm pulling about like what I said. It's how I got there that could be rude to the horse. Now watch Robert closely. Oh, you braced. I didn't hit you. Why'd you do that? Protecting himself. He'll brace all the time like that. See him brace. You can't help yourself. And I'm even telling you you're going to do it, and you still can't help it. You might give to me, and then I'd give to you. But it's the way I go about it. Nobody's going to get any.
That is such a smart way to explain this all.
Sort of an invitation from the horse to come to you.
What a pretty horse.
When you have the physical working for you when you're younger, you ride with 90% physical and 10% mental. But if you could learn how to use 90% mental and 10% physical, you'd be better off.
Yeah, I believe that.
Left, right, left, right, left, right.
Horse is dancing.
It's a dance. We're moving on a field. You know, a horse is pretty sensitive. A horse can feel a mosquito land on their butt in a windstorm. Movement you make on a horse, there is a perfect position of balance that takes no energy from the horse.
Damn. I feel like apart from the whole child abuse part, it's such a peaceful documentary. I'm really enjoying it.
I guess if there's a horse whisperer out there, it's Buck Brannaman, I don't know, you know.
A movie?
Into the Horse Whisperer through Nick Evans, searching some characters for my book.
Oh.
Trying to find a way to bring this character to life. I'm a movie producer. He said, I was wondering if you could meet with me and Bob. I said, Bob?
In my business, artificiality is part of the business. And so when I met Buck, my first thought was, well, what the hell is this? He's got a big hat on, he's got vest and so forth. He looks like he's got a costume on. I thought, oh my God, you know, and his compatriot with him, the same outfit. And I thought, oh, geez, what have I gotten into here? The humanity that kind of came off real quick. And so I realized that I was really dealing with what I would call the real deal. No nonsense guy. He was an advisor that I brought on, worked his way into the core of the filmmaking as a model and also as a player. I used him as a double. So he was a huge part of the fabric of the film.
That is so funny that they actually were already like planning on making that movie, and then in the end he became a pretty big part of it.
Supposed to go into the stall with the horse, and the action for the horse is he was supposed to sort of paw the ground and show a little aggression.
I think I know this movie. I think I've seen it on TV one time, but like really long ago. Because I also remember like young Scarlett Johansson indeed.
The horse nuzzled the boots of the trainer, but wouldn't nuzzle Scarlett. And the meter was ticking, and you know, time is money and all that stuff.
I said, yeah, we sure spent a long time at it too. He said, yeah, 8 hours. You got any ideas? Why don't we use my horse, Pet? You don't understand, Buck. You know, we use Hollywood trick horses for this because they're performers and they can...
Yeah, but they couldn't do it.
What do you have to lose? So I dinked around with my horse and got him where I could lead him by a front foot, and he'd paw the ground on the mark. And he just put his head right in her chest. And she wrapped her arms around that horse, laid her head on his forehead, and everybody was crying.
15, 20 minutes, it was done.
Should have done that earlier.
So Buck played a greater role than a lot of people realize. He contributed everything.
But like, this director, he directed a lot more movies, right? He's pretty famous, isn't he? What did he also direct? Yeah, I see some things I recognize, but not a lot I've actually seen. But yeah, I recognize him and his name. Mostly his name, to be honest. That's the thing with directors. You always recognize the names and then you're like, oh, that's what they look like. So after I finished watching this documentary, I looked him up one more time because I was like, why does this name sound so familiar? Then I realized he was, of course, the actor from The Electric Horseman I watched a while back, and I indeed recognized a lot of other movies, and I kind of realized who he was. And the thing is, I know he's like a really big name, but beside The Electric Horseman, I have never seen him in any more movies, so that's why I didn't really know right away who he was.
I've been traveling with Dad during the summers.
Oh, he has a daughter.
June till end of August. My dad's on the road 9 months out of the year, and it's tough, but I'm kind of used to it now.
You know, it's always funny when people talk about their childhoods, and then I kind of forget about the fact that they're now old themselves and that there's like a possibility they have children themselves. And then when they introduce the children, I'm like, oh yeah, right, that's the thing.
I think we're helpful to a point. Sometimes maybe we're in the way because he has like a way of doing things, you know.
What are you doing? What is it? So I guess you got a lot of songs transferred for me on my iPod.
Traveling with Dad, it can get pretty stressful sometimes just because he is like the travel Nazi. He has his own way of how he does everything, and we kind of mess up the process sometimes.
Oh, Breanna. Oh, you put the top on backwards.
I think he kind of appreciates us. Nasty.
Ugh.
Yeah.
It's also part of it, of course.
My Madonna microphone.
Madonna microphone.
Let me give him a second. There. Pet it. That's the way. Nice. You want that horse to be an extension of you. This is a body. The whole thing is
Just like, how do you come up with all these training methods? They all seem so smart. There's even people sitting in chairs there just watching what he's doing.
There, and we're up here probably 7 hours. Not too long.
I haven't seen Mary for a couple of months. Hi, Dally. Hi, buddy.
Aw.
It's been an awful long run.
So this is Twyla, Rudy, this is Dally.
Hey, Rudy.
Also, introducing the dogs, very important.
I don't know how many dogs you need before you have enough dogs. Are there any of you that have any real problems with them that you'd like to kind of mention that you... He runs you over?
Lovely.
Don't be overly critical of them, because they're just babies. If he feels like you're angry at him at all.
Just babies. Look at all the babies. They're so cute.
Virtually, I think, plucked from his home in the middle of the night, sort of a thing.
It's a real hard story to tell.
Oh, childhood friend.
Ace was real hard on those boys. You weren't for sure what.
The way you already see him grabbing the shoulder, it's like you kind of already see it, like when you know.
You know, I've seen his back. That's a hard story to think about. Get undressed and get in the shower. And as soon as Buck started taking his shirt off, he's seen the wet marks. And
What the hell?
He just basically told him, he said, your dad will never beat you again. I'll make sure of that, you know. Started the ball rolling to get Buck and Smokey to a safe place.
Good.
When the boys were forced to disrobe, legs and their little buttocks were these big foot marks.
Disgusting.
That Dad had beat them. We'll have none of that. I took them to the Shirleys.
They were two frightened little boys. The two boys were just, they just turned into Shirleys.
Why is this so wholesome?
She was a very loving lady.
She became my new mom, and boy, it's something I really needed. Sleep good?
They have a wonderful relationship.
Aw, you can really see how much he cares about him.
I think Betsy raised something like 23 foster sons. I mean, all boys.
Our kids were little. It was like a zoo, and it was every man for himself, survival of the fittest. Blessed are the flexible, for they shall not get bent out of shape.
What a loving woman. That's kind of already when you're thinking about how their parents made them do like the rope tricks and all. When he was 3 years old, and then they're probably making like a lot of money with that. The children probably don't get anything. Like it's already like child labor, and like basically from when he was 3, maybe even before that, don't know anything about that. It was just like bad environment.
When I first got dropped off at the Shirley Ranch, I was so terrified of men and wife.
Yeah, I get that if that's been your like experience with men.
He walked right up to me and he said, "You must be Buck. It's real. You can be so scared that you can't say anything. No words come out." I just sat there, and my little knees were just about knocking together. I was a little guy. He came back and he threw me a pair of buckskin gloves. You're gonna need them. Gee, they were just beautiful and they fit me perfect. So we took off and we built fence all afternoon. But I wouldn't wear those gloves. Token act of kindness, just giving me something like that. Oh, gee, it meant so much. I didn't want to get them all tore up.
Oh.
worked through the barbed wire with my bare hands. He realized that I didn't need someone to just pity me. He knew I just needed something to do. I needed a job to do.
Yeah.
That's when things started to head in the right direction for me. So I learned that about the horses years later. That's kind of what Forrest did with me, come to think of it.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. Like, a lot of the things he's saying about the horses, like, they shouldn't live in fear. You shouldn't, like, correct them with pain or whatever. It really says a lot about his own past. It's kind of similar.
And respect isn't fear.
Needs a confident rider for that first ride. I bought just a rodeo and disaster waiting to happen.
It's not his fault. He didn't have any good parenting. He just doesn't know what's to be expected of him. There's not so good a deal. You can't just love on him and buy lots of carrots. Bribery doesn't work with horses. No different than trying to bribe a kid, but you know, I'm afraid of you.
He's just so wise. Everything he knows about horses. Like, it all, when he says it, I'm like, yeah, it makes so much sense. Like, you would think, like, yeah, everyone knows that. But I don't know, you just don't really think of it or something. He just explains it so well.
Let's go this way. I said that way.
You allow a horse to make mistakes. The horse will learn from mistakes no different than the human.
There's a change. Attaboy.
Buck says when you start handling horses, your own...
Like, such a difference in only a few minutes. Insane.
You know, you can discipline and discourage, or you can discipline and encourage. You can say, I see you tried that.
Tentative, but he tried. And I'd pet him with this. You can just leave him be for a little while. Just kind of hang with him and let that soak in. That kind of where you end up your ride on the horse is so important, you guys. It's a little bit like we're younger and you're dating. That last 2 minutes of the date can be a real deal breaker. But with these horses, it's the same thing. Quit on a good note. That was a good day.
Yeah, because that's how they'll remember it.
Hey, Buck, why don't you do some rope tricks?
Honestly, sometimes I look at these kind of, like, communities and all. It looks like such a vibe. Just out there in the open air, horses and all.
This is kind of tricky with her.
You still got it.
Move I used to always do for Mary when I was trying to trap her.
Dog is like, what the hell?
Pretty much anybody that's been involved in the horse world knows Ray Hunt. Tom Dorrance is sort of the godfather of all of this.
I don't know him,
Tom
but...
Dorrance taught Ray Hunt. Ray Hunt taught...
Ah, okay. Like that.
Then in come Ray Hunt. I saw him do more things with a horse in a couple of minutes than I'd ever figured anybody could do with a horse. He worked with a colt that was pretty touchy, and I'd been around enough to know what a touchy horse looked like. And you could tell the horse truly understood what he was expecting of her. They were his feet. It was just an extension of him. I looked for his approval, you know, the same way you would a father figure. When Ray passed away, I shed way more tears for him than I ever did my dad.
I get that.
First clinic I ever did, probably wasn't a real effective teacher. I was a pretty decent hand, but I'm sure I just sounded like I was parroting Ray Hunt. I didn't have anything original of my own to...
Yeah, but I get it. You really, like, develop your own style of doing things over time. Like, the more you do that.
Buck has worked so hard to overcome his shyness. The clinics were so small when he first... He couldn't have eye contact with you. He was very shy.
Oh. Now you can imagine that. If I see him do these clinics, I'm like, okay, yeah, he's just doing his thing, very confident. Cows.
To work a horse properly on a cow, that's the coolest feeling there is.
I get that.
Let the games begin.
Interesting how they do this.
One turn and then a raise. That's good. Nice. As long as you can stay between your cow and the herd, you're in charge.
Dang. I'm out. See what happens when you're married to him?
There's really nothing more fun than chasing cows at top speed and just trying to react.
I also feel like he's kind of trying to make a game out of it, so that's nice. Like, people are learning at the same time, they're just having fun, you know.
It's made me a more resourceful and balanced human being, on top of just less likely to get killed on a horse.
Bill, I'll start with you first. What's your stage name?
Smokey Branham.
Smokey Brannaman. And how about you, Dan? What's your stage name?
They call me Buckshot, and I'm 7 years old. Our father did.
And that's Ace Brannaman,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Did he ever do this type of thing? Did he ever do this type of
The
thing?
way my dad treated me when I was little,
We've arranged a short demonstration, right, fellas?
I know you're not supposed to hate anybody, but the hurt that he caused me, I never really got over it.
Just knowing what all went on there, this just looks disgusting to me. Him basically making them do this and all. And it's what I was just thinking about, like, he made such a career for himself now. He has such a good life now. And I was thinking, like, kids who were abused by their parents and eventually broke loose from their parents. I'm always, like, he says you shouldn't hate anyone or keep, like, feeling bad towards someone, because then you also don't really get over it. But I'm always thinking, like, I would really want to see the look on those parents' face if they just saw how successful their children were right now without their help, and just them not being allowed to be in their children's life anymore, you know. He did say that his dad died, though, so I don't know when that was, but it's just something I was thinking about.
Sometimes the way you protect yourself is you just really don't communicate with anybody, and you try your best not to be noticed.
Yeah, survival methods.
And you'll see a horse sometimes that they've been mashed on by somebody, and you just look in their eyes and they look like they're dead. Yet that's the time when try to encourage your kid to be outgoing.
He kind of got it done in spite of you, didn't he?
Rita and I are an awful lot alike. Thank goodness she kind of has her mother's voice. You know, Mary will say, sometimes in frustration, she's just like you. And I think, what's the downside to that? And I look at her, the way she's developed, and I think, I probably could have been that way when I was her age.
Yeah, I feel like it's only like a good motivation to be better for your own kids. Even though there is like a lot of people who like went through abuse themselves who never really recovered from it and then just pass it on to their own kids. So I think it's really admirable when you can overcome that and all and just have a good relationship with your own kid.
Evidently, he's a little naughty.
Oh, just a little.
I guess you disrespect there, huh? Or he had to come up and stick his nose right in my face. So I'll work with him.
He looks like a bully. Bully horse.
This guy's a paint, and he was an orphan as a baby. He was oxygen deprived, apparently. Which way you guys want to bring him in?
Talk to Buck, see if he wants him or not. He may want to, because that horse might hold up the whole progress of the whole.
I think we have a problem child we have to work yet.
They make it sound like they're bringing in a Siberian tiger.
Yeah. Oh, poor baby.
Was he hard to catch even in the trailer, Dan?
Kind of wanted to be a little aggressive in there. Just a lot of threatening, you know.
Just 3.
Aw.
His mom died at birth and I pulled him, threw him back to life, and at 3.5 months I got my back broken in 2 places, so he has not been handled.
So he was more or less raised like an orphan kind. The
Right.
orphans are always the worst because they don't learn anything about respect that they would have learned from their mother or from other horses.
Aw.
They don't respect
Oh,
anything.
yeah, he doesn't, but I feel so bad for him.
People thought I should put him down. They thought maybe he had some brain damage. Extremely dangerous. And he attacks cars.
Attacks cars?
Anxious to get
I'm curious how he's gonna handle this.
When I didn't have a barn because my house burned down and my barn burned down, so
Jesus.
I raised him in the house. It was cold, and I bottle fed him every couple of hours, and it started out a good relationship. It's just somebody else has to come in and.
Yeah, because mostly see when you raise an animal yourself and bottle feed them and all, then they have like this really deep connection to you. But yeah, not in this case.
I mean, it looks to me like the last thing you need is a damn stud.
Yeah.
Just well get you grizzly bear and orangutan.
Ever witnessed anything quite like that dangerous and unpredictable.
That's a wild horse.
Does somebody plan on trimming his feet someday? Yeah. Any shoers here? Come on, you cowards. You want to shoe him right now, or would you rather I got him a little better? You're buff, okay. A lot of you that don't understand much about a rope.
This horse.
You're going to be real glad that I can stop him. Once you understand how much more control. Yeah, I want you guys to understand. You can't hold it against him for kind of how his life is.
Yeah,
going.
like I get that it's really hard, but it's kind of not his fault, you know what I mean? It's kind of what he's saying too, so yeah, he's just had a different life than other horses, I guess.
Kind of humble like that, you can cuddle him and kind of love on him too. So just pet him on the hind leg and just see if rub him on his face there when he's being a good guy.
Oh, you good guy.
We had to put up a sign that says attack horse because if somebody did walk into the pasture, he would have taken him out. And some people started teasing him, and I went up to him about 12 feet away. Instead, he looked back at me, pinned his ears, ducked his head, and did that aggressive horse behavior and came right at me. Going, striking, pretty much came up over the golf cart and nailed me.
I honestly get when you've broken your back in 2 places because of a horse. I do understand why people are saying like this horse needs to be put down. It's just too dangerous, you know. But if there's people like Buck indeed who can like make this better, then you really need to try that first before, yeah, putting down an animal, you know.
Go ahead, just say, come on, let's go, Yeller. There you go. Go ahead, go on. Rub him on the back. We don't want him to think every time he feels anything back there, he's just gonna get whacked. Okay, you can step off.
The thing is that like the color of this horse and like the hair, he kind of looks like a lion in a horse version. And he behaves like it.
I was really embarrassed. Said nobody should have a stud horse, and I'm thinking, God, if he only knew I had a whole pasture full at home. It's healed up pretty well, but I'm gonna have that the rest of my life. Yeah.
Oh.
Hell, the safest place around this son of a bitch is on him. You felt fine when you were on him. But around him on the ground, he's treacherous.
Is there any way they're gonna like...
He could hurt Dan or me or you. Or...
Yeah, save him, get him better. How should I call that?
But he doesn't know any other way to be.
Yeah. It's sad. He just doesn't know any better.
He's run with some studs, and
You're
they
nuts
take
for
him...
having that many studs running together, lady. I'm telling you that. For God's sake, they don't need 18 of them. I don't know what you're trying to prove. Probably a lot of it's a lot bigger story than this horse. You ought to be a SEAL team member or something, as much risk as you like to take. Why don't you learn how to enjoy your life? This horse tells me quite a bit about you. So this is just an amplified situation of what is. Maybe there's some things for you to learn about you, that maybe the horses is going to be the only damn way you're going to learn it somebody else. Well, that's all right.
Therapy session with Buck.
I love the horses, but I have a responsibility to my fellow human too.
Right.
You know, I have a moral obligation to say, you're in big trouble here. Sound fair? Okay.
He's right. And I'm not, it's not just the horse. He's right about my life.
Holy shit. It's like even when people aren't doing anything, he's just like running up to them, trying to hurt them. People are just scared to even come a little close to him. Damn. Psychopathic horse.
That's it.
Oh, this is bad.
Well, I know.
Oh, that looks bad.
It's a huge hole.
You always carry something with you just in case.
I'm gonna have to put him down.
You need to go right in.
See the bone
big
and the
fuss they make about it. It's good at cleaning clothes. Dang.
Just bit him in the head.
Blanket me with his teeth, boy, and knock me flat.
Get it stitched up.
I know that this Dan guy is just kind of trying to laugh away the pain, but it's a really heavy thing that just happened.
Give him off to somebody who's going to beat him to a pulp with a 2x4. It's
Nah.
not something you do. And he's dangerous. I'm going to put him down, and that's the most humane thing to do for him.
Oh, that must be such a,
Get out of there.
a heavy decision. But yeah, it's just not safe to like... Oh!
Yeah, do not get close to him.
Yeah. And I feel like this animal is so like frustrated in life and all, and... It must also be really bad because you're going to like Buck and his clinic to see if there's like any hope left for your horse, and then to realize that even there he's just like being dangerous, attacking people. They can't really do anything for him. I think that realization must be hard. I also feel like it's kind of like your last hope or something.
Sit still. Just sit still. Don't do anything.
It's kind of looking like, what am I supposed to do? Who should I attack? Instantly notice like the whole vibe here, like no one's talking, it's really quiet. Yeah, this is sad. So that does show that there are horses who are not savable by him. I mean, this was a pretty heavy case, I think.
Have any questions here?
At some point, would you talk to us a little bit about the colt that left yesterday?
Well, I'll talk to you right now. So the vet even figured that the horse had been oxygen deprived, but he still could have made it in spite of his handicap. Would treat this as if that horse, because of the oxygen deprivation, had some sort of a learning disability. They should have worked with him like you might work with a disabled child and said, look, you might need a little bit of extra education. And he may have ended up just a kind, nice little horse that didn't have a lot to offer mentally, but was just kind of okay with people, packed someone around. He might have been the absolute opposite, get killed, or someone else would get hurt that was totally innocent. The human failed that horse.
Stitches.
The human. That horse is a mirror. All your horses are a mirror to your soul. And sometimes you might not like what you see in the mirror.
What were you thinking when you were just being so kind and patient to get him in there instead of just, you're no good, slut the door and go?
To have contempt for the horse never would even occur to me.
No. It doesn't work.
30 years ago it would have.
Yeah, maybe 30 years ago, but people have learned more about animals, like I said, and yeah, abuse is not really the answer. It's the same when, like, I don't know, 80 years ago, parents used to hit their children way more.
My dad had a violent temper.
See about the generational trauma. It's the same with horses, and yeah. He's kind of comparing that right now.
I'm going to be just like that old fart, you know. I'm going to take care of things and try to make this as good a life for him as I can and not let things get out of hand and teach him something, I hope. So we're heading from Chico to...
That was one hell of an experience at this clinic.
Rihanna's doing the kids class. They call it the heritage class. And this will be her last year to do it, the kids class. Then she'll be too old. That's about the most fun for me, is out there roping with my daughter.
She emulates everything her dad does. She wants to be just like him. We did teach her how to ride, but it was already in her. She could ride.
Yeah, I mean, if he's your dad, the horse whisperer.
Yes, lovely assistant.
There'll come a time when she'll be beating me.
I think so too, because she, like, of course, started all of this way earlier.
Then I'll just sit around in the grandstands and talk about all the stuff I used to be.
It's nice that he can just, like, pass it on to her. And that she's also so interested in all this stuff.
People say they're too old when they're like 40, and you think, shut up. Bill Dorrance was roping when he was 94. That's how I want to be when I grow up, if I ever do.
It's always neat to see him after I've been gone for a long time. And it's always hard to leave, too, you know. I'm still on the move. I'm getting better because I'm still studying. I still want to be a better horseman. And I thought originally I was just going to be there to figure out how to get a colt started and figure out how to be a little better cowboy. Come to find out that wasn't what it was about at all. There might be some become artists, where you become creative and you use your imagination. You look like one mind and one body. If you got a taste of it, if you got a taste of what I'm talking about, you couldn't get enough of it. You may spend your whole life chasing that, and that's possible, but it's a good thing to chase.
At first I had no idea what I was gonna watch, and now I'm just like, damn, it was really interesting to learn something about this man. That was it. Okay. Wow. Oh, there's more!
Favorite joke. It's a pirate scene, and the guy up in the crow's nest says, "One enemy ship coming on the horizon," and the captain says, "Bring me my red shirt, because if I get wounded in battle, the blood won't show, and my men will fight on." The guy in the crow's nest says, 10 enemy ships on the horizon. And the captain says, "Quick, bring me my brown pants."
Oh, this woman is so cute. Oh yeah. They didn't really say anything about the brother anymore, right? Oh, nice. I think indeed the whole idea of like that he was abused in his childhood, like at first I was just thinking like, okay, they of course need to give him some backstory to also make the documentary interesting, but it was so nice how it was just connected to all of his methods, and you really saw that he's just kind of sort of fighting for good treatment of horses, and that has a lot to do with his own experiences. I think they really showed that in this documentary. So yeah, I made small documentaries too during my film school time, and we got a lot of lessons in that. So because of like, knowing how to make a documentary and all of that, you always like kind of start to think like, but how did they intend to do this? How is this like stuck together, you know? And that's why at first I was like, okay, yeah, he was abused as a child. They're telling that, which is really interesting. To like hear his backstory and all, but it has to like relate in some way to like the thing he's doing. Otherwise you're just gonna throw it in there, like not to sound rude, but then you're just gonna throw it in there to like, make people, like the viewers, feel bad for this main person and to make them keep watching. But I think they did this so well in this documentary. It was just like, you really saw it back in his methods. Like there's a reason he's this gentle with horses and doing this all like that. Also the relationship with his own daughter, that from what I saw in this documentary, that seemed very healthy. So I think it was just very admirable how he went from like an abused child actually to this, you know. And like the woman who adopted him, she seems so sweet, and I mean she did such a good thing if she adopted that many boys who needed help. So that was also really wholesome to see, actually. Because of course, I mean, I've watched a lot of horse videos now, so I kind of get to understand the world a little bit. But because in the end, I don't have that much experience with horses, for me it's just like, okay, yes, I'm watching this horse documentary. But at the same time, there's so many like other aspects beside the horse stuff that are so interesting to me that like even people who don't care about horses at all, I think they would still like think that this would be an interesting documentary. So they really did something very well there. I think the story about the really wild horse, that was sad. I'm like still thinking about it. Like this documentary is 2011. It's been so long now, but it was kind of like, especially because this woman, she meant well, but she apparently raised the horse wrong. And I mean, horses don't just turn out like that. Of course, because he didn't have enough oxygen at his birth and all, he was indeed like a disabled horse, and she should have treated him like that. But to just kind of hear that the woman was like, I bottle fed him when he was like a baby, and he lived in my house and all. I feel like you would build such a strong connection with an animal like that. And like I said during the reaction, I feel like going here to Buck, that it would be like her final like hope to like save this horse, you know, and that she didn't even like put it down yet when she broke her back, when he attacked her and all, and she just still waited. It shows that she really didn't want to do it and really wanted things to like get better for the horse. Then to realize like this whole thing with Buck also didn't work, and then the realization, okay, now I really have to put him down. I really felt that. Like, I'm not saying the woman was like absolutely in the right here, because of course in the end, probably not on purpose, because it didn't look like she would like abuse a horse or whatever on purpose, but she probably just didn't really know how to raise it well. And because of the things humans do to the horses, they become like that. It's not because of the horse, it's because of how it's treated and how it's raised. But I just want to say, I did feel for the woman. Like, I feel like she really wanted to try, and in the end it didn't work out. And then having to put down your baby, actually, it's just, that felt so bad. And what I really admired was like the how quiet it was suddenly. Like this whole documentary, it was kind of like so many people talking, and the vibe constantly when there were clinics and there were so many people, there was laughs, there were jokes, you know. And at that moment, I think most people felt like, what was going to happen, what the whole deal here was. Just the quietness right there in that environment, it was just, I felt that, It was very sad. But I do think it was a really great example of showing like, yes, Buck can help horses, save your horses or whatever. But yeah, of course, there was also always lost causes, and this was just a lost cause like that. The way the horse ran over Dawn. Oh, and then when we saw the stitches, he had like all the way from here, and like his hair was bleeding and all. Insane. But I thought it was also really interesting to see like the clinics and how he trained with other horses. Like you would see like a horse that was also not that very well raised, but not like the last horse, you know. And then in just minutes, the horse would just be doing what Buck said. I was like, damn, yeah, this guy's really doing a good job there. So yeah, overall, I really enjoyed this documentary, and I think it was really well fit together, especially with the whole backstory and all. And yeah, it was just a good documentary. And yeah, I had a good time watching it, apart from the really sad moments. I mean, still, it makes it interesting, but it's really sad. I don't think I have a lot more to say. Apart from that, I really admire what this guy is doing. I said this a few times in the video. Like, I don't know, 50 years ago, maybe people would have like, yeah, beaten a horse. People still do that, but there is, like I said, way more research on how to treat animals, also children, and it's like so much the same actually. How you treat a living human being really, yeah, it really forms them, and how they come out, and you know, and how they start behaving. It has so much to do with that, and it's just the same with animals as for people, you know. And to just see that there's people like Buck who actually stand up for like animal abuse and no, this is not the way, really trying to teach them this, that's really good. And yeah, it just, like, when I saw the video of the people whipping the horse and really, like, abusing it, and you just saw the horse was in pain, I was like, oh, it's just insane to me that this still happens all over the world. Like, way less than probably 50 years ago. But, ugh, yeah, it's just disgusting. Just abuse in any form, like child abuse, animal abuse. Why? Just why? Why do people have to, like, control things with their anger? Try to control things in another way. It's so insane to me. So yeah, I think this was my reaction. I'm very curious to know what you guys thought of this documentary. Let me know down below in the comments. And if you want to request your own movie, video, episode from a TV show, documentary, whatever, check out my Patreon. The link is in the description. And you can also find my full reaction to this documentary on there. And if you like my reaction, please leave a like, subscribe, and then I really hope to see you next time. Bye!